Welcome to Everyday Linux User. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Windows subsystem for Linux. Be prepared, there's going to be lots and lots of failure in this video, but it's important because it will show you what it can be used for and what it can't. What is Windows subsystem for Linux? Well, if you want to run Linux on your computer, previously you had multiple ways of doing it. You could install Linux as its own operating system on a separate machine. You could dual boot Linux and Windows, so your hard drive is partitioned into two or more partitions, one with Windows, one with the Linux of your choice. And the third way is to use a hypervisor, such as which is basically virtual machines. In 2016, WSL was created, and that allows you to run Linux natively to Windows. Now, there are two versions of WSL available. There's WSL 1, which was the first version, and that was developed by Canonical and Microsoft together to enable you to run Ubuntu within Windows, and it gives you terminal access to Ubuntu, so Windows graphical desktop, but you can run Ubuntu commands. And then WSL2 came along, and that and now enables you to run more than just Ubuntu. You can run other Linux operating systems via terminals also within Windows. So the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to install it. I'm going to show you how to run graphical programs. I'm going to show you how to install a graphical desktop. And then I'm going to discuss some of the reasons you might want to use WSL, and also why you may not want to use WSL. So let's get started. First thing you need to do is enable WSL, and you can do that from the start menu. You do Programs and Features. And what you're looking for is turn Windows features on or off. And you scroll down here until you see Windows Subsystem for Linux, and you check that, and you click OK. And you need to reboot your computer for the changes to take effect. With that feature now enabled and the computer rebooted, you can actually install the WSL Linux operating systems from the Windows Store. So if I click on the store here, I can search up here and I can type WSL. And you can see all the different WSL options available. So you've got Ubuntu 2204.2, you've got Ubuntu Ubuntu 2004.5, Debian. You've got various launchers that you can use. So this is a GUI launcher. There's a Fedora one, an Arch one. So there's lots of different things that you can. There's also WSL Championship, which has nothing to do with this. It's a surfing game. But that's this is one way you can install Linux operating systems. So if I want to install Ubuntu 2204.2, I can just click that and I can click Get, and it's starting the download. See, it's going to take a little while whilst it's doing that. There is another way of doing this. If you press the Start button and you type PowerShell, and we're going to run that as an administrator. And what you can do is type WSL -L -O, and that lists all the available WSL operating systems that you can install at this moment in time. So if I want to install one of these, I can just do WSL install and I can choose the one I want. So in this case, let's do Debian. So on the left-hand side, I've got Ubuntu installing. On the right-hand side here, in the PowerShell, I've got Debian installing. You can see Debian's beginning now that the Ubuntu is installed whilst it was getting the files, probably. And then it says install, and it may take a few minutes. And then you'll see it asks you to create a user account. So I'm going to create one called Gary and give it a password. And we type the password. And there I'm in. I'm in a Debian operating system. Similarly, I can open my Ubuntu one, and it's also installing. And it's also asked me to create a user account. So again, I'll create a user account for Ubuntu. Installation successful, and I am in. So I can exit at any time, type in exit, and I can run my Ubuntu if I want to, just by typing that, and then you can see it's in the Windows menu, and I can just click open, and I am in. Similarly, I can open Debian, and I am in. So I'm going to continue with Ubuntu, and we'll close the Windows Store. And it's worth going to the Ubuntu website for this, and because this is a good guide. So first it tells you how to install WSL. You could use command line. If it's worth saying that if you didn't say which operating system to install from PowerShell, the default is actually Ubuntu. I prefer, I think, to be more specific and actually choose the one that I want to install, so you can guarantee then which version of Ubuntu you're getting. This is showing that you can also download it from the Ubuntu, from the Windows Store, and then we're down to the configuring, and that's where we are now, because I have Ubuntu started here, and the first thing you're going to do is going to upgrade and update and upgrade. And that will make sure your system is completely up to date. Now, it's worth pointing out that you might have some issues if you're running Windows 10. I'm running Windows 11, so a lot of the things are working out of the box. But this guide by OMG Ubuntu, how to install WSL 2 on Windows 10, is a good guide. And the key features of this are turning on the first, it tells you how to enable WSL. Yeah, you can still use the program and features thing, but it also tells you to enable the virtual machine platform, which is important. And it also tells you to set WSL2 as default. And you might have, so when you start trying to install Ubuntu, it might come up with an error saying it needs to be WSL2. So this is how you enable WSL version 2. And it shows you how to install a distro and how to use WSL2. And it also tells you, so it's a good guide for getting up and running. Now, one of the things you're going to want to do for Ubuntu is enable systemd, and Ubuntu's got a big sort of fanfare. Hey, System D support has landed for WSL, unleash the full power of Ubuntu. So quite simply, to enable System D, you go into your Ubuntu and you sudo nano etc wsl.conf and you just type in the 2 lines there. So you can actually just copy and paste that, and it's Control O to save, Control X to exit. Now you need to exit your Ubuntu. You need to open a PowerShell again. And what you need to do is type WSL shutdown, and that will shut down your Ubuntu. So now when you go back in again, System D is enabled. Now the next thing I want to do is install a graphical tool. So I'm going to do sudo apt install, and the tool I'm going to install is Rhythmbox. I've got a guide showing you how to use apt if you want to learn how to install applications from the command line. That'll be linked to this video. But as you can see, it was just sudo apt installing the program you want to install. It doesn't show you how to search there. My guide will show you how to do that. So as you can see, that's now installed. Now I can run Rhythmbox from here. And you can see it loads up and it runs. So I've got no music imported. In my personal music folder, I've got one song that I downloaded. It's royalty-free music. So it's asking here, where's the location of your music? It's not under gallery. Actually, I'm going to choose other. And if I go into mount, I can go to C. And I can go users, gallery, and music. And open that. And hopefully it should find my song. It didn't. Well, that's disappointing. So what we'll do is we'll copy that from there. And we can scroll down and we can see Linux. I can go to Ubuntu 2022 and I can go to Home, Gallery. I can't actually see my music folder in here. So let's cancel that. So I make the music. So now if I click on that now, I can put the file in here. And we can restart Rhythmbox. And you can see it's found a song. And does it play? And it does. So as you can see, I can run Rhythmbox from my terminal, but it gets better than that. I can press the Start Windows button, I can type in Rhythmbox, and I can open it from the Windows menu. And there it is. Interestingly, it's not found the file now. So we'll try again. We'll home, get Gary, music, open that. It's not finding the tracks. Let's see if we can get it from a different source. Maybe if we can go to... I'm deliberately showing you all the issues I'm finding here because you're going to hit the same issues if you're trying to use these sort of applications. So let's go to Mount, C drive, with users, Gary, music, and still nothing. So despite having it running from the menu, it's not finding any tracks at all. I'm going to close it, see if it does it when I reopen. And it doesn't. If I copy this and put it straight into the music folder, into the Gary folder, it will do it. Oh, now we've got something. I have no idea where that came from. But as you can see, you can run Linux programs straight from the Windows menu. Maybe it's a bit hit and miss, but it did actually work. So the next thing I want to try and do is install a graphical desktop. And we're going to try XFCE first, or should we try GNOME? Well, the thing we can do, this is Ubuntu, so we could install the full Ubuntu experience. The first thing I'm going to do is install a display manager. So I'm going to do sudo apt install lightdm. You can see that it's asking whether I want to use GDM3 or lightdm. I'm actually going to choose GDM and then I'll click OK. Okay, so that's now installed. The next thing I'll do is install the Ubuntu desktop. Obviously, this is quite a big one because it's going to install all the desktop environments and stuff like that. So it's basically the broken down small version of Ubuntu you get at the beginning is almost like your Ubuntu server, and now I'm turning it from a server into a desktop machine. So it takes a while to download the packages, and it's going to take a while to install the packages as well. It's worth pointing out that I have done this a few times, and it's a bit hit and miss as to whether it works or not. I would say my success rate is probably about 50%. It's worth noting that once we get to sort of the 82% mark, it kind of slows down, and I get this error with the ACP ID service. And now we've gone a little bit further, and I'm now at 83%, and I've been here for a little while. The installation failed at that 83% mark. I had to cancel it. Then I had to run a couple of commands. I'll go through them once this is finished. What this is basically showing, though, is this really isn't what you want to be doing. If you really want a graphical Linux environment, you should probably use a virtual machine if you want to have it on top of Windows, or failing that dual boot. And if you really want to go for it, have a bare bones machine with Linux running on it. This is just to prove that you can get a desktop environment up and running. At the moment, I'm proving nothing. But if I can't get this running, I'll try for a vanilla GNOME desktop, or a vanilla KDE, or a vanilla XFCE, and we'll go from there. I'm having various errors as I go along. I'm having to press Control C quite a bit. I mean, it's just not playing. I'm not sure what speak to dispatcher is. I'm not particularly interested. It's taken ages to install. It's not really working the way it's supposed to. I'm hoping at some point we're going to get something resembling the Ubuntu. I don't hold up much hope though, in patience. But Ubuntu normally installs quicker than this. Quicker than this. There's so many errors. It's hard to believe this will ever work. Right, so we finally got to the end. Now I've seen guides on the internet for actually launching the GUI. Some of them involve running scripts that you download from Git. It involves third-party software like this one, which is VC Xserve. So you run this. So in here you type gnome session. You get this. But so I've got this window manager now opening, and you can see it down here. It won't exit. It's sitting there. So if I type gnome session now, in theory it should show up. And there's various variable sessions you could add. I've not got it to work. I'll admit that. Obviously it's possible because other people have done it. I've not managed to get it to work. So what I actually installed is XRDP, which is the remote desktop protocol. And for me, this seems like the most obvious thing to choose. You're not having to edit any scripts. You're not having to download Git scripts that you don't know who wrote them and what they're for, and they're one update away from breaking everything anyway. So I think RDPing onto the machine, it's a bit weird because you're actually RDPing. You're remote desktoping onto a desktop that's native to the machine, which seems a bit weird. But WSL2, unlike WSL1, they are actually virtual machines in their own right to a certain degree. Whilst you've got access to all your Windows drives, etc., they are technically small virtual machines, small containerized virtual machines. So it's not crazy to RDP on. The other thing you could do is use VNC. So you install a VNC server onto Ubuntu, and then you use a VNC viewer like real VNC to connect to the machine. So I'm going to leave this running. Now this failed for me last time, the HP lip user account thing. I'm not sure why that's causing such issues. Now I've done this previously with XFCE, and I did the Ubuntu desktop, and it worked a lot better than trying to install the Ubuntu desktop. So I think GNOME and all the packages that they've got around the main Ubuntu ecosystem, I don't think it plays well. It is worth noting that all these applications are installed now, so they're Shotwell, which is installed as part of Ubuntu, should actually load, and it does. Meanwhile, in the background, this is continuing to create an account. I don't hold up much hope for it. I think it's probably dead in the water. Oh, well, you can see it's actually working. So if I cancel that now, cancel download, you can see it's actually importance for photos. So yeah, that worked. So Rhythmbox we saw earlier, videos, you can run that. So you can install all the applications, and they're going to work. So he says confidently before a big error hits the screen. But yeah, the applications can actually work. So add a local video. Let's try other locations. Computer. Mount. See. Users. Gary. And obviously we've got lots of videos here because let's pick this level 1 and will it work? That's not looking very hopeful. Meanwhile, this is still dying in the background, doing absolutely nothing. I think we're going to have to kill this and stop trying to get Ubuntu desktop working like this. I think we're going to start again, maybe go for a vanilla GNOME desktop and go for that way. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I tried now installing the GNOME desktop and I can't get it to install. I could just go for plain GNOME. Let's see if that works. I get the feeling it's going to install all the same stuff as before. It's going to install LibreOffice. I mean, we could try it, see if it works. We're not going to install the Ubuntu desktop stuff. So it's downloaded all the packages, now going to install them. So previously it got stuck about the 82% mark when I was trying to install Ubuntu GNOME desktop. Let's see how it gets on this time. This seems to be going a bit better than previously when I was trying to install the Ubuntu desktop. You can see it's all the way up at 89%. It hasn't stopped yet. I've probably just given that a kiss of death by saying that, but here we are. So with that, I'm now going to install XRDP. And that finished a lot quicker as well. In order to RDP onto a machine, you need to know the IP address. So we haven't got ifconfig installed. So I've got the command wrong there. It's sudo apt install nettools that you install, and that will install the package, and then you can type ifconfig, and that will give you an IP address. So I'm going to see if that works now. If I RDP, so all you have to do is Windows RDP, and click on that. And we're going to type in the address. So actually the address you're looking for is this one here. And I've already got that in there. Click connect. And that's not going to connect. It's not found the RDP. So what we're going to do is going to reboot the machine because it probably hasn't got, it probably needs that service restarted. So we're going to exit out of here. And we're going to do WSL shutdown. WSL to get you straight back in. If this only works if you've only got one version of WSL Linux installed. So I've only got the Ubuntu one installed now. I took out the Debian one. So I'm back in. I'm going to go to my home folder and we'll try the RDP again. And it's still not working. So I think we need to start the GNOME session as part of one of the config files. So I've played around with various things. I've tried using this VCX server. That's not working. Try GNOME session and I just get an error popping up like that. Something's gone wrong. It's dead in the water. I've tried various things. I can't get GNOME to fire up either as an RDP or via this VCX serve. So other people say they can get it to work. I don't deny that, but it's not easy. So if you want to run GNOME within Windows WSL, yeah, I think you probably can do it. I can't get it to run. It's not viable as far as I'm concerned. If I want to run GNOME, I'm going to install Linux with GNOME. At the very least, I'd install a virtual machine with a GNOME desktop environment that way. And as you can see, it's killed my computer at this moment in time. Okay, so I tried now to get RDP working again, and found some lines on the internet as you always do. So enable dbus, dbus.start. I'm not going to go through these. We started at xrdp. We do get further with the RDP now. You can see it's now connecting, and we get display manager. And oh, something's gone wrong. So my GNOME is completely useless. So I think we'll leave GNOME there, but we'll continue now. I did get XFCE working using this fashion, so I'll show you how to get XFCE working, and maybe we'll try KDE as well, and we'll continue from there. So I've reinstalled Ubuntu again. Basically, I've done the update, done the upgrade. I've set systemd on, and we're now back at a almost vanilla Ubuntu as it would be installed by WSL. So I'm going to install XFCE, and so what we're going to do: sudo apt install XFCE4 and XFCE4 goodies. And as with GNOME, it's going to download all the files and then install them. As you can see, it's started to install the files now. So this is a lot quicker than GNOME. XFCE is a much lighter desktop environment. XFCE goodies is obviously going to add a little bit to it because it's adding features that aren't part of the main XFCE desktop. So now we're going to install XRDP. And we're going to edit this file here, so sudo nano /etc/xrdp/start.wm.sh. And what we want to do is comment out these two lines here at the bottom and just type, actually that should be start xfc4, control O to save, control X to exit. We're going to exit from there. We're going to open a PowerShell again. We're going to do WSL shutdown, and we're going to go back into our Ubuntu, and we're going to try and remote desktop. And it's connected, and so we can type Gary into the password. And it died straight away. And now I'm going to borrow commands from this site here. This is actually the tutorial I'm following for getting this up and running. You can see the address at the top if you want to follow along. But I'm just going to So I've installed that bit. I'm now going to copy the commands one by one. And then this bit down here gets you up and running. So we need to enable the bus. And then we need to start them. So and the same with the RDP. Like that. And then you can check the status if you want to. But in theory, you should now be able to remote desktop into the box. And you should be able to type localhost 3390. Type in your username, your password. And for some reason I'm getting a black screen. And there we have it. We now have XFCE running as a window manager within Windows using RDP protocol. So that was quite a challenge. And we can see our applications from the list. There's not actually anything much installed because I went for the vanilla. You can see I'm getting an error there, so I'm going to remove that. There's no applications installed, but you can now use the terminal here. And if I wanted to, I could. I think it's GNOME software, isn't it? Yeah, this will give me the software center. But now, what we've got XFCE running within Windows. We've got Linux and Windows combined. And if I look at the file manager, I can actually find my Windows folders quite easily, and I can manage my Windows system files via my Linux desktop environment. I'm not sure if that software manager actually installed properly. No applications found. I wonder if we install the Flatpak, whether that will suddenly change that situation. You probably have to change the software repositories actually. Let's try and see if we can get Flatpak installed. So I can install this command and this should install the Flatpak add-in. Interesting I'm getting this permission denied thing, even though I'm on my own system when I'm logged in. But and I am using sudo, so that's interesting. Right, let's see what happens now when I run it. It's still showing no applications found. Now, the obvious reason for this not running properly is because it's a system D based software. So, and this is run via X in it, so it's not going to work. So I stopped there, and I've been messing around for a while, and I've been using, instead of remote desktop, I've been using the VCX server, and I've had to do a couple of things like turn off Wayland, and I've got it working, but it is incredibly slow. It's so slow that it's unmanageable. So my conclusion for all this is that you can get GNOME running, probably. You can get XFCE running, but you're not going to get a great user experience. You've seen how long that's taken to load up. I'm trying to drag the window around now. It's not letting me do it easily. Look how slow this is. It's virtually impossible to use. Yeah. So I've got Software Manager running within XFCE on Ubuntu within WSL for Linux. Yes, I've done it. Achieved it. Aim done. Passed. It doesn't work really. It's slow. It's just not. I could have created a virtual machine within about 15 minutes and be up and running and do all this stuff. I can still access my Windows drives from a virtual machine. So I'm not sure that this is viable. Like if you want a desktop Linux experience within Windows, this isn't the way to go. That's not really what WSL is for. So I'm going to close this because it's painful. And let's talk about what it is for. So you've seen that you can run applications natively from Windows itself. So I could probably run Software Manager from here, or Software Center from here. Let's see if that works. It doesn't look like it's going to work either. This is Tuna File Manager. I can Oh, software manager's just loaded. And it's going to catalog the software. This is Tuner. I can manage my file system using Tuner, so that's fine. Uh, I don't know if this is going to work. This is software manager. I'll be honest. So let's look at some of the things that you should be using WSL for. And the best place to go for that is probably Ubuntu's own website. They're going to give you the sales pitch. So if you go down the bottom, what you never thought was possible on Windows. So you can run Linux editors. So if you wanted Emacs or Vi or Nano, you can run that within Windows. Woohoo! Oh, you can also run Notepad++, which is just as good. You can run VS Code. Brilliant. System D, great. And you can use snap packages. I'm not a fan of those in the first place, so I'm not sure that's a good thing. Where it does come in its own is containers. So LXC and Docker and Kubernetes. For software development, it's a good thing. Like if you're trying to write Windows applications with Linux, or if you're trying to make cross-platform applications, is a good thing to try out. You can do Bash scripting. So if whilst there's PowerShell for Windows, you might find that you're more of a Bash expert. So you could do Bash scripting, and of course you can spin up various servers like Node.js, or you can spin up web servers, file servers, etc. So that's what WSL is for. WSL isn't for running desktop Linux on Windows. If you want to do that, I recommend using a virtual machine, or if you really want to use Linux, just install it to separate hardware. I have done a dual boot guide as well. You can do dual booting if that's your preference, but this is not for. You can get probably GNOME running, you can get XFCE running, you can probably get Ubuntu running natively within Windows, but it's not going to be a great experience, and you're still going to have the Windows desktop. So what you're getting the KDE desktop or the GNOME desktop as part of your Windows. Why do you want that? I mean, I do like the idea that you can run applications straight from Linux applications that maybe not native to Windows straight from your Windows menu. I do like that, and as you can see, the software manager is actually working here. So I can install Firefox, and this would be the flat-packed version of Firefox. Oh no, authentication was required. That's the snap version. Have we got? So I haven't got Flatpak installed. So what I can do is, right, so I need to install Flatpak, so that command there. Right, so I wonder if Software Manager will now show Flatpaks. So to summarize and finish this video, if you want to use Linux, use a virtual machine or install it to your own hardware. If you want to use WSL, it's useful for running the odd Linux application if it's not available for Windows, or it's good for development purposes like Docker, Kubernetes, etc. It's not useful for a daily driver for having a Linux desktop within Windows and running necessarily lots of all lots of Linux software, like you've seen Software Center doesn't work. You've seen it's bitty. It's not great. From the command line, I'm sure it's fine for running power bash scripts, etc. But my conclusion is I wouldn't use it for anything desktop related. And that is the end of the video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, click the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.